Attention passionate Detroit, Lions fans. Latest news, something big is happening in the NFC North and it could change the game. We're talking about a direct impact on Detroit Lions' path to another Super Bowl run, a power shift that could leave a division rival stumbling for years. We're bringing this to you firsthand. But before that, if you're a true Detroit Lions fan, subscribe to the channel to strengthen this passion even more. Show that you're also part of this family. Let's help each other reach 1,000 subscribers. Share with your FRINDS and Detroit Lions fans. Let's get to the news now, folks. When you think about the Detroit Lions and their current trajectory heading into the 2024 NFL season, it's impossible not to feel a mix of excitement and cautious optimism. But what's really stirring the pot right now in Detroit? Well, recent reports and expert analyses suggest that the Lions are once again looking to bolster their roster, especially the pass rush, which has been a bit of a concern over the past few seasons. And it's not just idle chatter, no. It's about strategic moves, trade discussions, and potential signings that could make the Lions' defense a real force to be reckoned with in the NFC. Let's rewind a little and look at what happened last season. The Lions finished with a solid record, clinching a playoff spot and giving fans hope that this team is on the verge of something special. Jared Goff continued to impress, showing that he's more than capable of leading a winning team. The offense was clicking, and the defense, particularly the pass rush, had moments of brilliance but also times when it fell short. A key issue that came up repeatedly was generating enough pressure on opposing quarterbacks. Especially in critical moments, when the game was on the line, Detroit's pass rush sometimes struggled to get home, which affected their ability to close out games and make impactful plays. This has been a recurring theme, and the Lions' management knows it. They've been active in the offseason trying to address these concerns, but as you know, the NFL is a league where the margins are razor-thin. Small upgrades can make huge differences. And speaking of upgrades, recent insider reports and expert analyses point toward a potential move that could shake things up even further. The idea of a strategic trade involving multiple teams, aimed at bolstering Detroit's edge rushers. This isn't just speculation. It's coming from credible sources like A to Z Sports' Mike Payton, Kyle Krabs, and Easton Freeze, who recently laid out a detailed three-team trade scenario. The plan involves the Lions acquiring Tavius Robinson from the Baltimore Ravens and Will Levis from the Tennessee Titans. At first glance, it might seem like a lot to give up, but let's break down the reasoning behind it because it's actually quite intriguing. Starting with Robinson, the Ravens' edge rusher, he's a player who's shown flashes but hasn't quite broken out as a dominant force yet. Robinson is still relatively young, only in his second season, and has accumulated 4-5 career sacks so far. Most of those 3. 5 came last season, so there's a sense that he's still developing, still learning how to be more consistent at the NFL level. Now, I know what some of you might be thinking, 4.5 sacks. Is that enough? And that's a valid point. But what makes Robinson interesting is his potential. He's a raw talent with room to grow, and in Detroit's system, he could be put in a position to thrive, especially with the coaching staff known for developing defensive linemen. Trade also involves the Titans and the Lions swapping some assets, Alquadin Mohammed, a veteran edge rusher for Detroit, and some draft picks, including the Lions' 4th-round pick in 2026 and a 5th-round pick from the Titans. The goal here is to get younger, more athletic players into the fold, and Robinson fits into that plan. But the real prize, at least in the eyes of some experts, is Will Levis, the Tennessee Titans quarterback. Now, Levis has been a polarizing figure. Drafted with high expectations, he's yet to truly establish himself as a reliable starter in the NFL. His time in Tennessee has been somewhat inconsistent, and the team hasn't exactly given him the best chance to succeed. But in Detroit, things could be different. The Lions have Jared Goff leading their offense, an established and productive quarterback. But behind Goff, there's still some uncertainty. Teddy Bridgewater, a veteran brought in last postseason, is aging and coming off some injuries. Having a young, talented quarterback like Levis on the bench could be a real asset. The idea is that Levis, with some time to develop, could become a reliable backup or even push Goff for the starting spot down the line. Plus, he's a player with natural arm talent and a good head on his shoulders. His development could be accelerated in the Lions system, where he'd have a chance to learn from Goff and the coaching staff's expertise. Now, I want to pause here for a second because I know some of you are curious about how realistic this trade is and whether it makes sense for Detroit. It's important to remember that trades like these aren't just about talent. They're about fits, cap space, and the team's long-term vision. The Lions are in a window where they want to contend now, but they're also building for the future. Getting a guy like Robinson, even if he's not a superstar yet, could give Detroit a boost on defense, especially in the pass rush department. And adding Levis as a backup gives them a young quarterback with upside, something they could develop carefully behind Goff, who's proven he can lead a team deep into the playoffs. But let's not forget the bigger picture here. The NFL offseason is a chess match. Teams are constantly maneuvering, trying to outsmart their rivals. The NFC North, in particular, is becoming more competitive each year. The Vikings, Packers, and Bears are all making moves, and Detroit can't afford to stand still. They need to be aggressive if they want to keep their spot at the top of the division. And honestly, this potential trade, or something similar, could be a step in that direction. Now, talking about the Lions' current roster, it's worth mentioning how much talent they already possess. Jared Goff is entering his prime, and he proved last season that he can be a franchise quarterback when surrounded by the right pieces. The offense is loaded with playmakers like Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jahmyr Gibbs, and the emerging Jameson Williams, who's back from injury and eager to make an impact. But the defense, especially the pass rush, has often been the weak link. Players like Aiden Hutchinson have shown flashes of brilliance, but they need more help to consistently pressure the quarterback and create those game-changing plays. Aiden Hutchinson, the Lions' first-round pick in 2022, has been a bright spot, earning Pro Bowl honors in his second season. He's a relentless edge rusher with a high motor, and Detroit fans love his attitude and production. However, even with Hutchinson's rising star, the team needs more firepower on the defensive line to truly dominate. That's where adding players like Robinson could come into play, giving Detroit a more formidable front seven. The coaching staff is known for their defensive schemes, and with the right personnel, they could turn this unit into one of the league's best. Looking ahead, the expectations for the Lions are sky-high. The NFC North is increasingly competitive, with teams like the Vikings and Packers investing heavily in their rosters. The Bears, with their recent draft picks and cap space, are also looking to make a splash. So Detroit needs to act swiftly and decisively to maintain their edge. This potential move, whether it materializes or not, underscores the Lions' intent to be aggressive and strategic in their offseason plans. And let's not forget about the draft. The Lions have multiple picks in the upcoming NFL draft, and they're expected to target specific positions to fill gaps and add depth. They've already shown they're not afraid to take risks. Remember the trade for Jahmyr Gibbs last year? That move surprised some, but it paid off. So whether they go for a veteran free agent or a young talent through the draft, the goal remains the same: building a team capable of competing deep into January and ultimately chasing that elusive Super Bowl. Now back to the trade scenario. This hypothetical deal isn't just about acquiring a player and some draft picks. It's about creating a balanced roster, one that can adapt to different game situations. The Lions need more depth on the defensive line, especially on the edge. They also need a backup quarterback they can trust, someone with upside who might develop into a starter someday. Levis fits that mold. Meanwhile, the trade helps the Ravens and Titans balance their rosters and draft capital. It's a classic NFL move, teams swapping assets to maximize their chances of winning now and in the future. Of course, all of this hinges on many factors: contract negotiations, cap space, and how the players involved fit into the team's long-term plans. But the fact that such a scenario is being discussed publicly speaks volumes about the Lions' intentions this offseason. They're not sitting back and waiting. They're actively exploring ways to get better. And that's something every Lions fan should be excited about, because it shows that the team is serious about contending for a Super Bowl sooner rather than later. The Lions' front office has been praised for their strategic approach over the last few years, and this offseason seems to be no different. They've built a solid foundation, and now they're looking for that extra edge, whether through trade, free agency, or the draft. The potential acquisition of Robinson and Levis, or similar moves, could be exactly what Detroit needs to push them over the top. As fans, we all want to see that breakthrough year, that season where everything clicks and Detroit finally makes a deep playoff run, maybe even returning to the Super Bowl for the first time in decades. So, as we keep an eye on these developments, remember that every move, big or small, is part of a bigger picture. The Lions are assembling a roster with a clear vision, one that aims to be competitive, aggressive, and hungry for success. And given the talent they already have and the strategic moves they're considering, it's safe to say that Detroit football is on the rise. They're determined to shut up the doubters, reclaim their spot at the top of the NFC, and chase that coveted Lombardi trophy. It's an exciting time to be a Lions fan, and I can't wait to see how this story unfolds in the coming weeks and months. And now, Detroit Lions fans, I want to hear from you. What's your take on this? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Your opinion matters so much to us and to the Detroit Lions. And don't forget, I'll be back soon with more updates, so stay tuned for the latest Detroit Lions news.